On a cross-country road trip, I stumbled upon a quaint hotel tucked away in a forgotten town. The exterior oozed with rustic charm, and the promise of a cozy night's sleep beckoned to me. Little did I know, the old hotel held secrets that would send shivers down my spine. Upon check-in, the receptionist's smile seemed forced, her eyes veiled with something unspoken. She handed me a key with a warning tone. "Your room is on the second floor, but avoid the abandoned wing." Curiosity gnawed at me, and once inside my room, I couldn't shake the thought of the abandoned wing. Ignoring my unease, I ventured into the dimly lit hallway, the air thick with a sense of foreboding. A single door stood ajar at the end of the corridor, beckoning like a dark secret. As I entered the abandoned wing, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew colder, and the once warm light bulbs flickered ominously. The wallpaper peeled, revealing faded patterns that seemed to twist and writhe. The room numbers on the doors were barely legible, as if the wing itself resisted being remembered. I reached for my phone to capture the eerie sight, but it slipped from my grip and clattered to the floor. Startled, I bent to retrieve it and froze when I saw a shadowy figure in the corner of my eye. A woman, her features obscured by darkness, standing at the end of the hallway. Dread coiled in my gut as she beckoned with a bony finger, her voice a haunting whisper, "Follow." Fear and fascination warred within me, and despite every instinct telling me to run, I found myself drawn closer. The hallway seemed to stretch endlessly, the doors melting into the walls, creating a labyrinthine passage that defied logic. Whispers echoed through the air, disjointed voices that seemed to speak of tragedy and sorrow. The woman's form flickered, her hollow eyes never leaving mine. The walls seemed to pulse, the air thick with an energy that hummed with suppressed anguish. It was then that I realized the horrifying twist. The abandoned wing was a liminal space, a pocket of time where the hotel's darkest secrets were trapped. The woman was its keeper, a spectral guardian of the past, and I had unwittingly become part of her narrative. As the room numbers blurred and the walls seemed to close in, a chilling realization settled in. I was becoming part of the hotel's haunted history, forever entangled in its web of sorrow. I screamed for release, but the echoes only amplified, merging into a cacophony of torment. As dawn's light broke through the windows, I found myself standing in the lobby, the hotel returning to its mundane appearance. The receptionist's eyes met mine, her smile knowing. The abandoned wing had become a nightmare etched into my mind, a chilling tale of spectral encounters and a hotel's dark secret that would forever haunt my thoughts and dreams. The Elysium Hotel had always held an air of mystery. Its towering facade loomed over the city, its windows reflecting the sunset like vacant eyes. Curiosity got the better of me one rainy evening as I checked in, my unease growing with each step into the grand lobby. The bell above the entrance tinkled faintly as I crossed the threshold. The concierge, a gaunt man with a fixed smile, handed me a rusted key. "Room 413, he murmured, his voice as hollow as his gaze. My room was a blend of faded opulence and lingering melancholy. The wallpaper peeled at the edges, revealing intricate patterns beneath. The drapes swayed in a non-existent breeze, casting dancing shadows on the floor. I attributed my apprehension to the hotel's outdated decor and my own weariness. As night fell, unease settled like a cold fog. Sounds echoed strangely in the hallways, and whispers seemed to ride the air currents. I turned on the television for company, but the signal was distorted, flickering with a disconcerting static. Suddenly, a raspy whisper filled the room, words indistinguishable but dripping with malevolence. I leapt from the bed, my heart pounding, and scanned the room, empty. Brushing it off as a trick of my imagination, I slipped beneath the covers, hoping to find solace in sleep. But the whisper persisted, growing louder, more insistent. It seemed to be coming from inside the walls, as if the very structure of the hotel was conspiring against me. I bolted from the bed, my pulse racing, and stormed into the hallway. I was met with silence, the corridor empty and dimly lit. Unease settled in the pit of my stomach as I returned to my room, unable to shake the feeling of being watched. The hours crawled by, each whisper cutting through the silence like a blade. My head throbbed, my mind a battleground of fear and reason. I decided to confront the source of my torment, the walls themselves. Using my phone's flashlight, I examined the wallpaper, running my fingers over its uneven surface. That's when I noticed it, a faint seam running along the wall. As if compelled by an otherworldly force, I began peeling back the wallpaper, revealing layers of history beneath. Hidden behind the wallpaper was a concealed doorway, barely noticeable in the dim light. Heart pounding, I pushed it open to reveal a narrow passage that seemed to stretch into infinity. A cold breeze rushed from its depths, carrying with it the same sinister whispers that had haunted me. Driven by an inexplicable mixture of dread and determination, I stepped into the passage. The walls seemed to close in around me, the air thick with the weight of history. Shadows danced on the walls, taking on sinister shapes. The passage led to a small chamber, its walls adorned with symbols I couldn't decipher. In the center of the room lay an ornate mirror, its surface clouded with age. As I approached, my reflection twisted and contorted, the whispering growing into a cacophony of voices, each one a fragment of anguish and despair. In the mirror, I caught a glimpse of a figure standing behind me, a shadowy silhouette with hollow eyes. My heart froze as I turned around, but the room was empty. And yet, I knew I wasn't alone. As I stared into the mirror, my own reflection began to change. The face that stared back at me was not mine. It was a distorted, grotesque version, twisted by malevolent forces. The whispering grew louder, filling the room, as the figure in the mirror reached out, its fingers stretching toward me. Terrified, I stumbled backward, fleeing the chamber and the malevolent presence within. The passage seemed endless as I ran, the whispers chasing me, until finally I burst into my room. Breathless and trembling, I locked the concealed door behind me, barricading it with the bed. The whispers had quieted, but the air was heavy with the residual dread of what I had experienced. A chilling reminder that some places are more than just brick and mortar. They are vessels for the echoes of a dark past. Checking into the Riverside Inn seemed like a stroke of luck after my car broke down on a desolate highway. Little did I know that my stay would turn into a nightmare beyond imagination, a deadly game of survival with a roommate from hell. The lobby was dimly lit, the receptionist's forced smile unnerving me. I was given room 307, and as I walked down the narrow hallway, a shiver ran down my spine. The air was heavy, suffused with a sense of unease. Night fell, and I locked myself in my room, trying to ignore the unsettling atmosphere. But the scratching sound from the adjacent wall was impossible to ignore. I dismissed it as rodents, but the rhythm seemed too deliberate. As minutes turned to hours, the scratching persisted, growing louder, almost rhythmic. My heart raced as the realization dawned. It was Morse code. Panic gripped me, and I deciphered the message. "Help me. He's in the walls." My mind raced as I looked around, realizing the danger that lurked. The previous occupant of my room had left this haunting message, a desperate plea for help against an unseen foe. I pressed my ear to the wall, hearing faint whispers, a voice muttering about a game and the thrill of the hunt. Dread tightened its grip on me, and I knew that my roommate wasn't just dangerous. He was a serial killer, using the hotel's walls to conceal his gruesome activities. I called the police, my voice trembling as I explained the situation. They assured me they were on their way, but time was running out. I searched my room for anything that could help me, a weapon, an escape route, but the walls felt like they were closing in around me. Suddenly, a voice echoed in the room, as if it was coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. "You can't hide, my friend. I know where you are." I froze, my heart pounding. He was taunting me, toying with me as if I was nothing more than prey. The lights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls, and I knew that he was closing in. The police arrived, but the building's layout was a maze of confusion, and finding my location proved difficult. The killer's voice grew louder, his laughter echoing through the room as he reveled in my fear. I spotted a vent in the corner, a possible escape route. Desperation drove me as I removed the vent cover and squeezed inside, crawling through the tight space. But as I moved, I could hear his footsteps above, as if he was tracking me, following my every move. My heart raced, sweat mingling with the grime as I emerged into the hallway. I stumbled forward, my breath ragged, and was met by the chilling sight of a figure standing at the end of the corridor. a man with a twisted grin, a glint of madness in his eyes. He stepped forward, his voice a low, mocking whisper. "Nowhere to run, my friend. You're my newest plaything." I sprinted down the hallway, fueled by pure terror, fueled by the instinct to survive. The police's voices grew louder as I ran toward them, my vision tunneling, the killer's laughter echoing in my ears. Finally, I burst into a pool of light as the police surrounded me, their guns drawn. The killer had vanished, leaving behind only a chilling reminder of the darkness that had inhabited the hotel's walls. As I recounted my ordeal, I could still feel his eyes on me, the ghostly whisper of his voice haunting my thoughts.